What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're continuing Mock Draft 5.0 with round number 2. So if you guys are new, feel free to check out round 1. I'll do a quick recap here anyway, but would love to see you guys join the community. We're on the road to 5K. We're so close, so let's get it there. Again, this hasn't even been 2.5 years in, so it's been great being able to enjoy this journey with you guys. So let's continue. Let's have some fun with a quick little recap of what happened. You know, this draft is like introducing some of the new characters who are moving very much up my board, number 8 especially, but I'm just going to let you guys take it in. If there's a guy who I had to substitute because PFF is PFF and does not update their mock draft simulator, then I'll let you guys know. But you guys can see here, we'll of course check it back in a minute, and like every single pick I like to reference to make sure that we have an updated view of what we are supposed to do. So yeah, I mean, there's some really good players who I didn't even get to draft yet, who I'm very excited to do so with. And so we're going to start here with pick number 32. We went Andre Carter as well as CJ Stroud. And I think, again, when you try to look at this team, the offensive line, you could definitely get someone like Darnell Wright to potentially play that right tackle spot, or left because he does have that versatility. I don't think that's a bad idea. I don't know if Lovie Smith would exactly do that. Again, you went and got your commander, your offense, you got the running back down. I think wide receiver, you're pretty much set, and you can get those like extra players not at the beginning of the second round. Like, I don't really think you need to spend a premium pick on a wide receiver 3 because Nico Collins is looking really good, and I'm very happy to see that. I think that you could try to continue addressing corner. I do. I think that you've seen how much value they put into it with Derek Stingley there at number 3 overall. So when I look at this, there are a couple really good corners on the board, and I see one that's really good in man, but I see one that is excellent in zone and somebody who I'd really want on this team. And again, guys, feel free to give me feedback. I am very happy to get criticism as long as you aren't a dick about it. That's the quote of the day. Don't be a dick about it. But in pick number 32, I'm going to go with my number 2, almost number 1 corner in the draft, Jalen Jones. And we're just, of course, going to select somebody because PFF doesn't have him. But Jalen Jones is absolutely brilliant, very smart in coverage. He's been actually really good this year, but he came off an ankle injury, so his first game versus Miami, of all games, was a little bit slower than usual. He had to leave one of the more recent games as well. I think he re-aggravated it, but he came back, so happy to see that he is able to continue playing. That's why he was bumped down below Joey Porter, who is just on another tier. So, again, he graded the highest out of everybody in zone besides Joey Porter, and I just think that he's an absolutely phenomenal player. Excellent fit to this team. A little bit more bulky than Derek Stingley, 6'2", 205 pounds. Really good in the run support. I'm a big fan of him. Again, now you're creating a nasty corner duo, and that's a position you pay $20 million a year to. So it is a very premium position on the market. So I do think you're getting really good value with a really good player. Pick number 33. God only knows who the hell's going to be on the Panthers by the time of this, but you know, when you look at it, we didn't get CJ Stroud. We ended up getting Bryce Young. There's a lot more that we have to address. And it's unfortunate. I really do think a really good defensive coordinator. I think they had a pretty good one. I think they could definitely lift up their roster because they have a ton of talent on it. You know, I think wide receivers are checked. We just checked the quarterback box. Running back, obviously checked. Tight end is certainly a pick. And guys, honestly, when they update the mock draft simulator, I'm very curious to see like what we're going to like what this says and the guys who are going to be here, because I would love to do that and be able to put it up versus my own mock draft to see what happens. Regardless, again, quarterback already fixed. Tight end is the only position on offense that I'm like dying to fix at the moment. Again, you got your future tackles. That's great. Your guards, I honestly think they're good enough. Center, I mean, you could definitely try to continue upgrading, but at this moment, I don't think that's paramount. I think you can look at the defense. Corner, I think you have the best corner core in the league, honestly. If they actually all hit, and JC Horns hit, Dante Jackson obviously is a really good player, and then CJ Henderson has his issues, but again, he's a former number 9 overall pick. We've seen Jeff Okudah take a big step up in the next year. We could definitely see that from, I don't want to say Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because Florida, but we could also see that from C.J. Henderson. Now, I mean, I honestly think you don't really need much, but an edge rusher is never a bad idea, especially when Brian Burns is on the market. And there are some really good ones on the board. But I'm going to check to make sure that one of my boys was not already taken at edge. So we got Andre Carter, who was already taken. I don't believe we did it. We did not, because that right there is not Will Anderson. This is going to be, not Will, that would be crazy, right? Will Anderson. No, Will McDonald. Will McDonald's going to be this pick. And I'm not going to take Nick Herbig. So Will McDonald has the exact same, Will McDonald the fourth to be precise, he has the exact same weight, and I believe the exact same just overall height to weight ratio as Brian Burns. And I have him as a top 15 player in the draft. I think he's very similar to Kayvon Thibodeau, just a little bit worse, which is why he's not a top 5 pick. But I mean, at pick number 33, he is a premier edge rusher, and I think he's probably one of the best, if not the best, in the class, especially of who's left on the board. Pick number 34, we have the Falcons, who, if not mistaken, went after Will Anderson, which is a dream, and they did. Love it. So I've heard people say, like, hey, what if we end up trading away? I've heard some rumors of trying to trade away. Oh, man, Calvin Ridley. Right? Yeah, there we go. It's early in the morning. So A.T. Perry certainly is a guy who could be like creating a Twin Towers situation there. I know my boy Jordan Phillips has certainly messaged me about that. Gotta shout out him because he's been my little Falcons insider. So when I look at the team, quarterback, we're not addressing it. Wide receiver, it's on the table. Tight end, hell no. But running back, again, you have Cordell Patterson. You're making it work. You got guys like Huntley who are doing a pretty good job, but I think we all know that they don't have what it takes to truly elevate the team to the level that you really need. And I think that's a legitimate position to target. Now, you could try to address offensive line. I don't think that's ever a bad idea. But also, we have to talk about corner too, because Christian Gonzalez is on the board. Casey Hayward is not going to last forever. And Christian Gonzalez is locked down. I have to go with it. I have to. But I had to introduce some other ideas here. Again, Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. He's an absolute freak. He's in the top 10 of even Mike Renner's recent mock draft, which I looked at and continued for another round, so check that out. But THT obviously is never going to be taken by me in a top 2 round mock, but Christian Gonzalez will because he's an absolute stud. So I love how we use the TCU corners as the placeholders for much better corners, but it's just you need to continue working it. You do. Because I do think this Falcons team has a lot of explosiveness to it. And if you can continue to be locked down on defense, a lot of these close games can be turned into wins, and this team might have a very different future. Pick number 35, the Bears. We went after Jalen Carter. Again, we're really far away from, being able to call this team a competitor. It's unfortunate because I was raised a Bears and a Steelers fan, and it sucks to see the Bears in the state that they are. Granted, they're randomly kicking ass compared to what they should be doing, so, tip my cap to them. I think you could look at offensive line. You still have Darnell Wright here. You have Olu Fashanu. There definitely is a potential need for offensive line. You could go, of course, wide receiver. There's some really good guys here. And looking at guys like Jermaine Burton, we're considering Kayshon Boutte as returning. That's, if you guys are wondering, we're going to consider him returning. He's not going to be included in this mock draft. Also, it makes it a little bit more fun for us. Linebacker, I pray to God it's not an issue. I pray they just pay Roquan because, you're not paying Justin for a little while and you kind of need the best player on your entire team. So, with that being said, I think offensive line or a weapon is the best choice. And you have to help out Justin Fields one way or the other. I will just say, wide receiver is something that has been proven to be able to be picked up elsewhere in the draft. This is a really deep wide receiver core, and I think that you could definitely get one of these guys later on compared to a more weak offensive line class. And again, you have some really good players here, but that doesn't stop me from wanting to go Darnell Wright because he's played left and right tackle. And to me, that is a very key trait because, again, injuries happen. You have to fill in places. Not everybody can play like Elijah Vera Tucker and just kick ass everywhere. So Zion Nelson certainly, not Zion Nelson, I love how I said that. Darnell Wright is certainly somebody who I think is of that caliber. He's around the 50s for me on my big board, but at pick 35, that's well within the reach. Pick number 36, the Lions are on the board. And did we go after a quarterback with this top pick? We went after Myles Murphy and then Antonio Johnson. So the defense is essentially fixed. We can go after another linebacker, and there are some dudes who I want to consider here. One of them being Tyron Hopper. He's not included in this, but Tyron Hopper absolutely went off. He's from Missouri. He went off versus Georgia. You guys just need to watch that. I'm going to be going back and watching a couple different games of his, because I don't want to cherry pick the game I fell in love with him. Because again, it's not right. I don't want to be searching for confirmation bias. And again, that just means that you guys can't rely on me if I'm just trying to look for the good games. So I try to look for the games where maybe they didn't perform as well. And why? Because at the next level, it's going to be a lot harder to do. Regardless, I do think you could still consider a quarterback like Tanner McKee. You could. Because again, Goff out of scheme does not look top tier. Again, this is essentially a free pick because you fixed most of your issues. Corner certainly is still an issue I would still try to address. But I think wide receiver, you re-sign Chark, you're there. Running back, you're already there. Quarterback, again, that's why we're talking about it. Offensive line, you're pretty much there. Defensive line now, you're pretty much there. Linebackers, that's an issue. Corners could address it, but at this point, there's nobody here. And then safeties, we already addressed it. So to me, corner's not good enough value. So it's down to linebacker or quarterback. I'm taking the much more impactful position at quarterback. Tanner McKee is an amazing player. He's going to fit in right away as well. He definitely has very similar traits to Goff. But, he's one hell of a leader. Obviously, he beat cancer at 16 years old. I really love his fit on this team. I do think that he could just totally elevate this roster and continue keeping them at that high level. He could change this team from bottom of its class all the way up to beating the division. I legitimately believe the Lions could be the division winners with Tanner McKee just being good enough. Again, you just need to be good enough out of system. And if you can do that, you're better than Goff. You're going to raise this team to a couple W's that Goff wouldn't necessarily do. Pick 37. I'm starting to think, is Geno the answer? Is he? I know we went Will Levis, but is Geno the answer? Just got to think about that. But regardless, we've already gone after Will Levis as well as Trent Simpson. So I like that quite a bit because it gives us flexibility to go wherever the hell we want. I want to look at edge. I don't think two edges like Mike Renner did was exactly correct because, again, you have somebody there already in, the kid from Minnesota. You guys know who I'm talking about, Boye Mafe. So when looking at other players here, I like to go ZTF, but Tuli Tuipulotu also deserves a lot of respect. This guy just absolutely destroyed Washington State. Legitimately could be like top tier. And he moves around a lot. He looks very explosive. To me, it's down to probably these two guys. It doesn't really matter. There's so many good edge rushers in this class that really you just do whatever the hell you want. To me, that means you could kind of pass on him. But looking at other positions, like we've already addressed linebacker, defensive interior, there's Tyler Davis. It's a really good option. But actually, you know what? I'm going to go after the much better value here. I'm going to go after John Michael Schmitz. Monster in the run game, really good in the pass pro as well, out of Minnesota. I just don't even care who the hell is at center. I think it might be Ethan Pochich. Regardless, it's not the answer. John Michael Schmitz is a fringe first rounder to me. The guy is phenomenal. Of course, that is, take it with a grain of salt. I had Tyler Linderbaum in my top 10, so we'll just leave it there. Pick number 38, we have the Saints with their first pick, and we all know this is going to have to go into the QB realm. It's not going to be Devin Leary. This is going to be Cam Ward. Again, he has some flaws that he certainly needs to clean up. But the simple fact is, this kid is special. He feels very similar to Malik Willis, but he doesn't throw the stupid interceptions all the time. Like, Malik had some consistent head-scratching decisions, but, I love Malik. Don't get me wrong. I really love Malik. But I see Cam Ward throwing the ball away when the ball's not good enough. And he throws the ball to a super tight window when he needs to. He has different arm angles. He's super elusive. And I just love it. And I think that New Orleans would absolutely enjoy that. You see how well they use Taysom Hill. This is a combination almost of Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill into one. I think it's a perfect fit. I think it's great. I think this team knows exactly how to use him. This is the guy for your future. Pick number 39. We're going to trade away this Washington pick, so it's going to be the next 2 picks are going to be for the Colts. Of course, unless Ron Rivera is going to be like, yeah, it's quarterback. We're benching Carson's ass. We're going with Sam Howell, which is a possibility. We went Javon Foster with the first pick. That is no longer on the table because I would look at Olu Fashanu here for sure. Regardless, looking at the guys who are left on the board, Clark Phillips is a stud. He was on the flex team of the week last week for best player in the nation. So good for him. I think that he's a stud. He still is worth a first round pick to me. He has slot and boundary versatility. I think we need to start looking at him a lot heavier because I've been letting him fall, and simply put, I don't think that's fair to him. So that's certainly one of my options. Wide receiver, you definitely could take some dudes here. Josh Downs is a really fun option for you to replace Paris Campbell. There's just plenty of options, and I don't think they exactly need to go that route at this moment. Have they gone QB? They did not go QB. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a good enough one here. You could look at Will Rogers. I just don't think that he's going to come out this year. He definitely could, but that's a touchy subject. That's a really touchy subject because I don't know if the hype is exactly there for him, regardless of the amazing stats he's putting up. It's not a very translatable offense, so it's a little bit unfortunate on that front. But to me, honestly, I think cornerback probably will be your best move. I just don't think any other position is exactly the best for you. And Clark Phillips is absolutely locked down. Again, I have him in my top 25. He's a really damn good player. Pick number 40. This is being traded to the Colts. Where are the Colts at? I better be able to force this trade. I think I will. I'm going fucking blind here. I swear. There we go. I actually didn't. Hallelujah. So we're going to force this trade. There we go. So now we have a second pick, which makes this even harder, right? So I do think a quarterback would be of the realm. I think that you could still address the offensive line. This is a sketchy situation because I really don't know what I would go for with this team. There's a certain point where there's just not good enough value. And I think we're at that point where we have to just go wide receiver. And looking at the guys available, I do love my number 2 wide receiver in the draft, Xavier Henderson. Just kidding. Xavier Hutchinson. Who's Xavier Henderson? I'm tripping. I think that's guy in Florida. Xavier Hutchinson. Do love him. Don't think he fits. I don't think he's going to fill the role perfectly. And for me at that point, Josh Downs he's going to be on stock up, so spoiler alert. When you watch him, he definitely has that NFL X factor in terms of movement of ability. So he's a perfect guy to get in there with those twin towers and just absolutely dominate in terms of separation. Big fan of Josh Downs right there. Pick number 41, the Jets are on the board. And we went offensive tackle, if I'm not mistaken. We went Peter Skoronski. Awesome. Big fan of that. We're going to go linebacker here because I do think that is a solid position to target. And we're going to go Henry To'oTo'o. Bama linebacker pedigree. I know you've been able to make it work with Quan Alexander, but the simple fact is Henry To'oTo'o has a 4-year contract that's really cheap, and he's a good player, and he's definitely going to be somebody who has a really good attitude. Pick 42, the Giants are on the board, and I really would love to go Daniel Bellinger's replacement here. I can't. I mean, legitimately, I don't really see many holes on this team. We've already went corner, quarterback. There's just nobody good enough. And again, you don't force an issue if you don't have to. Caleb Williams will be there next year. And then same thing with Quinn Ewers, Drake May. Regardless, I think linebacker would not be a bad option. Again, I'm very intrigued with going Tyron Hopper in this and just introducing him to the draft. I think that'd be really fun. A lot of people say wide receiver. I could see it. But we're going to go Tyron Hopper here. Yeah, we're going Tyron Hopper. The guy's just absolutely dominant out of Mizzou. Again, I'm going to show some love to him, give him a shout out. He might never make it on the series again if I end up not liking him. However, from what I have seen of him, and I watched an entire game, every snap, he looked freaking incredible. The Steelers are now on the clock. We have went after a offensive tackle, in Anton Harrison. I think corner definitely still should be on the table, and I don't really care. So we're considering Eli Ricks is returning as well for the people who are commenting that. I'm going to go Brian Branch. I know that Cam Sutton's there. I know that you have Akella Witherspoon, all these guys who can play slot, but Brian Branch, I mean, man, Brian Branch could be something special. Again, he can play in the slot, he can play on the boundary. I think he's much better in man coverage than in zone, but the fact is, you're kind of desperate as the Steelers to get somebody of that talent level. So for me, I think I'm willing to give up on that hunch to be able to bring in somebody who's truly that talented. Pick number 44, we have the Patriots. And the first round, we went after Jordan Addison, who's a stud. Now, I'm going to introduce one corner who I've never talked about before. I didn't even know, really, of this man's existence until 10 hours ago. That man is Shaw Smith-Wade out of Washington State. Now, we have Jack Jones doing well. We have Jonathan Jones doing well. However, there still is a need for more dudes. Again, Jack Jones, smaller in build. Same thing a little bit with Shaw Smith-Wade, but he honestly looks a lot bigger than what they test him out at. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Shaw Smith-Wade out of Washington State, he logged down Jordan Addison, 3 targets, 0 receptions. And the thing is, when you watch those targets, he literally ran step for step with a post route of Jordan Addison. So he's going to be on the same team. Iron sharpens iron. Love it. I didn't even realize that. So, yeah, big fan of Shaw Smith-Wade at the moment. He's going to be making a big rise. He's actually going to make an appearance on my big board for the first time. Pick 45, we have the Titans. And we probably went after a wide receiver or something. Tackle. Hallelujah. Good. I'm very happy about that. We are going to be actually going after a wide receiver here. We're going after my number 2 wide receiver in the draft. Not Parker Washington, Xavier Hutchinson. Guy's just a really damn good separator. Perfect replacement for Robert Woods. Pick 46, we got the Seahawks back on the clock, and we went John Michael Schmidt. Now we can go edge rusher. We can do it without any guilt. And you can go BJ Ojolari, you can go ZTF, Tuli Tuipulotu. I want to show some love to Tuli, because he just went off, and he was everywhere. So I'm going to show some love there. He can play inside as well. That's kind of a thing that I see the Seahawks like to have. These bigger dudes who are very athletic. You can go anywhere you want, but I really like Tuli Tuipulotu. And I'm pretty sure he's like 275 as well, so he's a big-ass dude. Pick number 47, the Raiders. The Raiders are back. They definitely got offensive line round 1. They did. They need corner too, but honestly, we are literally expending every single resource of that corner core in this draft. I think that you definitely could look at linebacker. Defensive interior is never a bad position to try to target, ever. Safety, there's just not really a big fan of any of these dudes to come and make a difference. I would legitimately look at more offensive line. Again, you have Olu Fashanu on the board. Did we go after Paris Johnson for this team? We did. Honestly, Paris Johnson could kick in to guard, or Olu Fashanu can. I legitimately want to do that. We are going to go running back because I just don't think teams are going to be paying running backs when this class is this good. And Blake Corum is just one of my favorite dudes in the draft. I mean, he is literally right there with Bijan Robinson. So we got to show some love. Pick number 48, we got the Jaguars on the board. And we took a wide receiver, probably Jackson Smith and Jigba. And we did in the first. Now, looking at the options, I think tight end. I don't think Evan Ingram's the long-term answer. Pretty fair to say that. But we also know the guard spot is not filled. Pretty sure it's not Will Shatley. It's Ben Barch. He's the guy who's been playing some reps there. Not a huge fan of that. So for me, you already got defensive interior. You already got edge filled out. Linebacker, in my opinion, you also have filled out. Most of your defense is filled out. I think that you guys are perfectly fine on this front. So when I look at the options here, I honestly feel very comfortable taking a swing on, it's going to say guard, but we're not going to do a guard. I want to see what the analysis says here. You could tell people just can't draft. Regardless, I think the best move for this team right now is to take a shot on an offensive tackle, and Olu Fashanu. Got to give him a little bit more love. I have him worth a round 3 grade, but at this point, this is the perfect time with all these other tackles on your team to actually have him grow and develop, and he can play guard. So we're going to go Olumia Fashanu. Olumuia? I have no idea. Olumia Fashanu. Olu Fashanu is going to be the guy there. I just had to show him a little bit more love because it got brought up. I'm like, I got to show that guy some love. Pick number 49, we got the Rams on the board. Tackle is, of course, a necessity. Also why you couldn't trade back or anything. There's no trades anyway, but you had to get it where it was. Say it with me. We're getting Blake Freeland. It's just a perfect fit, man, and he's always going to be there. So we'll change it up sometimes. Obviously Javon Foster was my favorite target, but he's now at pick number 8. Pick number 50, the Brownies. Again, a team that doesn't really need jack. So to me, when I'm looking at it, I'm going to give them a player who could be a true special weapon. That's Tyler Davis. He is already in the 40s on my board. Really big fan of him. Just a lower value position. Pick number 51, we have the Dolphinos. We have probably already went a linebacker for you with Noah Sewell, and we did. Too bad Tyler Davis isn't here because that'd be a really nice addition. Right tackle is still a necessity. I just don't know if I could pull the trigger on Robert Scott and say, hey, try to play right tackle, because I definitely think he's worth it. When I actually saw him play versus Louisville, where it said he let up 3 pressures, legitimately, I don't think that those were his fault. He played locked down a lot of those reps, and those were against NFL-ish caliber edge rushers. So, to me, I really want to show him some love here, and I don't think you guys would complain. I know that there's probably better options, but the fact is, this tight end core is really deep. So yes, I know, we have not drafted a tight end yet. The simple fact is, I know I could get maybe Jaheim Bell, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta later on, and then I'll be perfectly happy. That's the only other option besides Robert Scott, but I really wanted to draft a tackle for this team because they need the help. Chargers. I think we went Gervon Dexter in round 1, and we did. So now, I am going to get a really nice receiving threat. I brought up Robbie Anderson. I just saw some rumors on Twitter. I don't think it's not official, but there are rumors, which means they are looking for somebody to plug into that position. Regardless, let's assume that they didn't do that. And you know what? They like their height, and they like guys with speed. A.T. Perry seems to fit that bill very well. So, very excited to see him come into the fray. Pick number 53, we have the Vikings here. And this is another team that could potentially look at a QB, but I'm not going to do that for them. Again, this team doesn't need much. It really doesn't. We got a corner. I think a safety is another really good spot for them. You could look at another running back, though. I legitimately do worry about Dalvin Cook's health. I don't know how much longer you have Alexander Madison. And when you have someone like Deuce Vaughn, Jahmyr Gibbs on the board, it just offers a new level of dimension for that offense. And I just don't think you can pass on it. Jahmyr Gibbs out of Bama. Pick number 54, we have the Cards, and a lot of people are saying don't go running back. Devon Achane's here. It's really hard not to. In the first round, what do we go after? Cam Smith. That's a nice addition. But I know you guys are talking about, hey, we need a center. We need a center. I just have to be honest with you guys. One, I totally believe you, and I think you're 100% right. But I don't think there's somebody good enough at this point. I don't have you in the top 15 anymore. You guys are making the playoffs. So, yeah, I can't do it. I can't. Because Cedric Van Pran just looked like complete booty cheeks last week. And I cannot do that to you guys. Running back still is a position I'm like heavily eyeballing. I know a lot of people are saying linebacker because apparently Simmons is, not that great. We could get another edge rusher. This seems like a good spot to take a shot on a super high ceiling one in BJ Ojulari. So I think it's okay. It's fair to say, hey, we got 2 of them in the 3rd round last year. Let's take another one now. This guy's super high ceiling. Pick number 55, the Packers. Again, another team that, honestly, I don't really have the guys available for them. Just going to be honest. We already went after all of them. So I'm going to go with tight end here. Michael Mayer. People are going to call me crazy. Alex, why would you have your first tight end go at 55? Even last year, that wasn't the case. Last year, tight end 1 was pretty solid ahead of everybody else, too. And, again, I think that this class has a lot of dudes that are a lot better. And the simple fact is, there's not many guys who are going to be of that elite tier. And we see with tight ends, it's the elite that make the difference. And then after those like top 3, the rest are pretty marginal in how much they make a difference over guys who are slightly worse. Like you see guys like Hayden Hurst, they're not elite, but they're making big impacts. Therefore, you don't need to spend a super top pick on a tight end, similar to running back, to be able to get that impact. So I'm just saying you don't need to worry about that. If you're like worst case scenario, you get like Benjamin Urosic out of Stanford, and that guy is a really good receiving threat. Pick 56, we have, did I say ye? We have the Cowboys, and where do we go with them in the first round? We went a guard with Voorhees. This is a perfect spot to go after someone like Jermaine Burton. I think that's a great spot for a man like that, who's going to be a very nice deep threat, very nice complement to CeeDee Lamb, just adding even more weapons to a championship caliber Dallas Cowboys. Pick 57, we have the Niners. So the Niners, again, another team that doesn't really need much. They have the best defense in the league, and they might just continue stacking it with Chris Abrams' drain. I mean, really, guys, this team doesn't need much. They need center, but don't really have one for you. You said you need tackle. We don't have that either. You don't need wide receiver. You don't really need a quarterback. I don't think you would definitely take one. Tight end, I don't think is a really good option for this team. Running back, you don't take him this early. So when looking at it, I'm going after a top 32 player on my board in Chris Abrams' drain. I think it's a great choice. Pick 58, the Bengals. So this team, what do we go with them in the first? We went after Osiris Torrance. This is going to be a tight end. Sam Laporta fits a lot better than the rest. I think Sam Laporta is a stud. I'm a big fan, so we're definitely going to plug him in there. He's my number 1 tight end in the draft. He's in my 20s as well, so he's significantly above all of their tight ends. Pick 59, the Anthony Richardson commanded. Oh, I was about to say New England Patriots, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to be going after an edge rusher here. We're going to get ZTF. We're going to take another edge from Washington, adding it to the rotation. I think you just need to continue building the defense. That's the identity right now. I don't think anything else can really be done about the offense. Maybe running back, but again, when there's somebody of the talent level of ZTF, I'm going to be taking that all day, every day. Ravens, I wish I could have just taken like an edge rusher here. Wide receiver, don't really think there's anybody who's going to fit the bill for you. Tight end, no. Running back, maybe. I know you guys love your J.K. Dobbins, but you could get some help there. Guard, don't really think anybody's worth it. Legitimately, there's nothing here. So we're actually going to go linebacker. And it's not going to be Jack Campbell. This is going to be Mikael Jones, linebacker out of Syracuse. He's been going off this year, doing a very good job. Ivan Pace, also another guy who I'd add in there. Pick 61, the Chiefs. We've seen them not be able to totally thrive without the speed of Tyreek Hill. But I don't think that's the excuse to not continue adding weapons. You have Sky Moore. MVS is just there as a placeholder. I think continuing to build through the draft is certainly a really good option. Raheem Jarrett's going to be my guy. Pick 62, we have the Eagles, who went Bijan Robinson in the first, along with Joey Porter. I think that's great. I think edge rusher should still be on the table. When looking at the guys, I mean, this is a spot where Isaiah Foskey could work. He definitely could. Darrell Shami, I'm at the point where I'm starting to think about dropping him. Derek Hall's been putting up 7 pressure games as well, though. I'm going to go Derek Hall, adding just some nasty meat to that defensive front. Pick number 63, and ending off the draft, we have the Bills. And the Bills, I think running back is certainly a good option to target. Zach Charbonnet, Sean Tucker, the two guys who I would like to get. And I am going to favor the man, Sean Tucker. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting as always. See you on the far side. Peace.